again, welcome back to Rooted in Grace. I'm Clayton Grace, and I'm so excited you're here with us. As you can see, it's not just me by myself today. We also have Jill!
Hey guys!
I'm so excited for today's episode. This is our first episode with a guest, and who better to do it than Jill? She's so amazing. Jill, do you want to tell them how we met?
Yeah, you just showed up one Wednesday to students, and I was like, hey, there's a girl. I should go talk to her.
No, literally.
Yeah, and so I feel like we talked for a little bit, just kind of
Yeah.
Hey, who are you? And then you just kept coming. It was like, oh,
I did, and
you're one of us now.
Yeah, and so I've been going there since September.
Mm-hmm.
I got baptized there, and yeah, we've all been hanging out ever since.
Yeah.
So she's here. It is the 4th of July. I'm not just wearing an American flag shirt for funsies. Sadly, it is quite literally raining outside. So hopefully that stops before fireworks tonight. But, all good. All right. I have my show notes, as always, on my phone. So here we go. One of our verses this week is Psalms 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Jill, can you share a little bit with us about when your faith became real? What was the moment where you were like, okay, God's here in this moment?
Yeah, so I was baptized. I honestly don't remember when I was, because it was just kind of it was a big moment, but I think I was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And then after that, I knew, obviously I was baptized, I knew oh, Jesus my savior, he saved me. But it wasn't really, it didn't became real. I didn't have an actual personal relationship with him until I started coming to students. There's not really a moment that I can think of. It's oh, I heard from God, because I grew up in the church my whole life, so
right.
I've been around Jesus and been oh yeah, Jesus is real. I know,
obviously.
But there's not really a single moment that I can think of that's oh, this is the first time I knew Jesus was real.
Yeah, Jesus has just kind of been there all along.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really great. Was there a moment or a season in your life where you felt distant from God or unsure of your own identity?
This is a hard one.
This is a hard one. This was one that I answered on the first episode, and I was I don't really know.
Because there have been lots of ups and downs,
right?
And there was definitely one summer where it was just, I had moved to Texas, and I didn't really have a lot of friends. And I was just kind of really lonely, and it was just really sad. And
moving is hard. Moving is hard.
Yeah.
I might know a little thing or two about that one.
But it was just, I would say that's actually when I read my Bible the most.
Yeah.
Before I really got into it and got into my faith. It was just I don't know who to go to except for Jesus. I don't have any friends, so I guess I'll talk to Jesus.
And that's so great. That's definitely one of the blessings that come from being alone once you've accepted Christ, is that that's where you're gonna go. That's where you're gonna spend most of your time, because that's who you're gonna talk to, and that's who you're gonna become close with. And then God will obviously bring you people into your life, which I think He's done for both of us.
Yes, for sure.
Very much so. What struggles were you facing in that time? Well, you just kind of told us anxiety, friendship, loneliness, those kind of things. Okay, Corinthians 5:7 says, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. What led you back to Jesus?
I mean, it was, I guess I could say my parents, their faith.
Yeah.
I could always be oh, I don't know what to do. And my mom would be oh, Jesus.
Yes, that's always so great.
Yeah. I'm looking at notes too.
Yes, absolutely.
I forgot the question already.
What led you back to Jesus, or pulled you closer to Him?
I mean, coming to students, really, having a community of people who would also be hey, I'm struggling with this, I don't have a friend. You'd be oh,
well, now we're friends, because
I
also struggle.
Yeah.
That's literally, I think students and community, a lot of people you hear talk about community, and it's so important, but you really don't understand that until you have your community.
It's so good.
For me, I obviously didn't find you guys until like first semester of senior year, and it literally did change like everything. I went through a lot of hard things. We were just talking about this before we started. I went through a lot of hard things my senior year, with like moving and friendships and boy drama and all, and like medical things and family problems. Like I went through a lot, but it didn't feel so heavy and so awful because there was Sundays and Wednesdays where I went and I got to be with you guys and I got to kind of talk about it a little bit, and there was always one of you guys that was like, okay, I went through this, here's what happened, or I'm going through this, let's do it together. And no matter what it was, or even if y'all didn't understand like at all what it was, there was 2 times where there was like a pretty big thing and no one was really like had been through that or was going through that, but y'all were like, we're gonna figure it out together, like we're here. And I think that that's what makes community so important, and that's why we're all so much stronger. I think we need to have the entirety of our friend group on here.
Oh yeah,
at some point. I'm gonna have to get more mics.
I'm
gonna have to get more mics.
So thankful for the community.
Yeah, because we're really strong. Yeah, group of 6 that kind of stick together all the time. When did you feel God or decide to surrender your entire life to Jesus?
I mean, that goes back to like when I was baptized.
Yeah,
there was just one Sunday I was in like the main service, not like in the children's for some reason. For service, and I don't remember what the sermon was about. I don't remember what the worship songs were. Like, I don't remember any of it. I just remember sitting there and I was like, okay, I believe that Jesus is Christ. I should get baptized.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, I've always been really, really shy. And so I was like, well, I guess I have to tell someone I want to get baptized.
Which is crazy because I've known Jill for the past almost year, and I would never, a word I would not use for Jill is shy. I would definitely use like outgoing, creative, fun, inspiring, not shy.
Like deathly shy as a child. Like I feel like this sounds weird because it's not like being shy is like a sin, but like before I found Jesus, I would not talk to anyone.
Yeah, that was like, something he like changed in your heart. Like, that wasn't necessarily like bad, but like he knew you needed to have a bigger personality.
Like I lacked confidence. And I was very like unsure.
So that you could like find.
Yeah. Now that I have Jesus, I am confident and I can talk to people.
Yay!
It's still kind of scary sometimes.
And here she is now.
Here I am talking to all of you.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah. What is something that you feel like God is working on in your heart, either right now or has worked on in the past, where you really had to say, okay, God, I don't know about this, but I'm really gonna trust you, and kind of like almost take that leap?
Yeah. I mean, like back to like my baptism story, like I was sitting there and I was like, I don't want to tell anyone.
Yeah.
But you are telling me I should. So I was like, I'll ask my parents later. And he was like, no, you're not going to.
You do it right now.
So I started crying right there in church. First time I ever cried in church, I think. So I was like, my dad was like, what's going on? I was like, I guess I want to get baptized. Yes, but I did. It was like, I
can just only imagine your dad being like, why is my kid okay? Yeah. And he probably told like some kind of weird joke or made fun of somebody, because that's just your dad.
Yeah.
Ugh, I love your dad.
He's pretty cool. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, my flesh doesn't want to tell people. I don't want to get baptized. And he was like, no, you're going to. And I was like, yeah, because I do want to. Like, yeah, because I know my spirit wants this. Like, this is gonna be good. So I'm gonna trust that this is what's gonna happen. And so yeah, I did.
And then didn't you tell me you got baptized like in a pool somewhere? I did. Like not like in a baptistry or anything.
I don't know why. It wasn't on it was on a Sunday, but it wasn't like at church. Like we drove to someone's house.
Okay.
Don't know whose house.
Oh wow.
Don't know whose pool.
Great.
Got baptized with like 4 other strangers.
Love.
Yeah. Salem Ashley baptized me. Shout out to her. She's amazing.
Okay. Yes.
I love her so much.
I've heard stories.
Yeah. I actually got baptized with my dad. After I decided to get baptized, he was like, hey, I was baptized as a baby. I should also make that decision for myself.
Yeah. That's so powerful that you kind of like encouraged your dad to do that too. That's a really cool moment. So what is a moment in your story that you want people to know about? What is something like, since you've been going to students, since you've been in high school, because I feel like high school is a really hard time for people, and you're homeschooled, that's probably an important thing to say. Jill goes to school, as she tells yes, every time that we get new students, and our small group leader was like, okay, go around, tell what grade you're in and where you go to school. Jill goes, I'm a junior and I go to school at my house. And it's so cute. And so we always, if anyone's homeschooled and they come in and they say they're homeschooled, we're like, oh, they go to school at Jill's house. Yeah, they go to Jill's house, which is not true at all. And new people are always like, huh? What? But no, it's
just totally normal.
So yeah, what is a moment since you've been in high school where the Lord told you to do something, like go talk to somebody, pray for somebody, kind of like an outward moment, whether that be like in worship or in prayer or whatever, and you were like, okay, yeah. Sure, like that's kind of weird, but I'll do it.
Okay, this is a good chance. So we just went to summer camp together.
Yes, we did
last week.
Yeah, it was so great.
Yeah,
we had such a good time.
Recent was like in the front of my mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was literally night one. Like we had driven all day. Super tired.
Okay, yes, I know what you're talking
about. And like night one service, it was like we did worship. They did like a little mini sermon.
I had cried through all of them there. Yeah. I literally could not stop. I don't know why, but I literally cried the whole time we were there that night. So worship was a little crazy.
Yeah.
And Jesseline was crying, and I was crying, and you were crying. And Brian was crying. Everybody was crying.
I love crying.
And Andrew's behind us, our youth pastor, and he's like, y'all want to go to the front? We can go to the front. Like, if they played Goodbye Yesterday, I want to go to the front. And we were like, Andrew, please. Please, dude, chill.
Yeah.
Okay, back to your
story. Hold on. Yeah, so it was like the closing worships. We were all crying.
Yeah.
And I was just standing there worshiping. And I've been like on this journey of worship the past 2 years.
Yeah,
of absolutely. Just like wanting. I've been on this journey like through everything, but like worship is how it's been. Like worshiping how Jesus wants me to worship and not how I want to worship.
Right.
And just like doing in everything.
Yeah, like just like a full surrender in that moment, and just like, God, tell me where I'm going, what I'm doing. Like just trusting and surrendering for sure.
Yeah. So this past few years, it started with like lifting your hands.
Yeah.
Which is the like, I wouldn't say like easiest, but like the most
common. I guess. Yeah. Like you either do nothing, or most of the time you do that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So it took me like a few years to get comfortable doing that, and even sometimes still I'm like, oh, I don't want to, but I'm like, okay, I guess I will. And then it was like kneeling.
Yeah.
And like. So yeah, I got pretty comfortable with like kneeling in worship, and it's like I love kneeling in worship.
I do too. I had literally never done it before. There was one night where I think Drex was up there, and we did come to the altar, and he had us all go down there, and I was like, this is weird. My knees don't really bend like that, and all of a sudden they bent like that, and it was a really cool moment. And so now I do it not often, but every once in a while for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I was standing there in worship. And I was like worshiping, and he was like, you need to sit down. I was like, huh? Sit down? But I'm standing.
And not like kneel or like get on the ground, but like sit in the chair, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, I can kneel down if you want me to. And he was like,
no,
I don't want you to kneel down. I know you can kneel down. I want you to sit.
Yeah.
Sit? Why sit? So I stood there.
Because in a way that almost, like, I know for me, like, it almost kind of feels disrespectful.
Yes.
Because, like, everybody either stands or kneels.
Yeah.
And so, like, sit in your chair almost, like, would come across disrespectful.
I feel like it can be because, like, I don't want to be here. I'm just going to sit here and wait.
Yeah. Or because I know a lot of times, like, when I get sick.
Yeah.
Or, like, my POTS is, like, being weird. I have to, like, sit down, and I just, like, feel, like, so out of place. So I'm, like, overdoing it to make sure that people know, like, I'm not being So yeah, I can definitely feel weird.
I was like, if you want me to kneel, like, because kneeling feels more like in surrender than sitting.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want you to sit.
You're gonna sit.
I stood there fighting for like a few minutes. I was like, why? I don't want to. But I finally did, and it like nothing like big happened. Like there wasn't some like, man, he just spoke to me. Like I heard directly from. It wasn't anything big. It was just I just sat there and I just worshipped from my seat.
Yeah.
Like he told me to. And it was like I could then like fully worship.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
And I feel like a lot of times like when we feel that, we're like, I know for me, like last Sunday when I knocked on the floor and I was right next to McKenna and I was like almost like on top of McKenna. It was really funny. But I was like, I don't want people to look at me. And I don't want people to think I'm doing it for their attention or because of whatever. And so I know like a lot of times that can be like a big struggle, is like not wanting to be seen as a certain way. I didn't notice that you sat down.
Really?
I did notice.
I was like kind of worried that the people behind me, like, what if they had like their hands on the chair and I just like sat on their
right.
hands or something? No,
But
I don't know.
I can say I didn't notice either because like me and Jocelyn were in like I think it was probably around the time where Jocelyn and I were just like clung onto each other so
sobbing.
actually tightly, just like sobbing.
Yeah.
I don't know why she was crying. She doesn't know why I was crying. We just knew we needed to
Yeah.
cry together
Oh,
and
yeah.
be in that
I love
moment.
that.
And I think we all definitely that night, but for sure throughout camp, we all had kind of like a moment like that. Like in that moment, I wasn't necessarily crying because of like the worship or the message. I had some other things going on, but then on the last night, it was because like of the message for sure. And I felt like, oh, okay, thank God. Now I've gotten over this like big thing that was like causing a lot of anxiety. So this is when you chose like, okay, that's out of the way. Now I'm gonna tell you what I need to tell you. And it was definitely like a moment of like, oh, you have been watching me. Oh no. Yikes. And then I definitely tried to fight it and not do what the Lord was telling me to do. He was like, you need to tell your friends. You need to tell your friends. And I didn't. And then Lord was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell him. And Jocelyn started praying over me, and she like said the exact thing, and I was like, whoa. And Jocelyn and I still have not talked about it. We haven't seen each other since we haven't talked about it. I was like, I really want to ask her. I was like, I didn't even know that. I don't know what I was gonna say.
Because Jocelyn did that for me later.
Oh my God. This girl.
Yeah, I was like, Lord, I need this. And then she prayed and she gave it to me. I was like,
I know Jocelyn.
Shout out to Jocelyn.
Literally, we need to get Jocelyn on here.
Good job, Jesus, for letting. Good job,
Jocelyn
for letting Jesus speak through you.
Right, Jocelyn has some of the best like discernment I think I've ever seen in anyone. Yeah, and she do be preaching. That's like kind of our thing in small group. Is like anytime Jocelyn starts to talk, we're always like preach, bring it. Yeah, bring it. She's great. But yeah, no, camp was definitely an experience. I feel like I did not experience camp like fully because I was so anxious. But I think once I got past that, like the last day was so much fun. Like we
just sat around and talked for like 3 hours.
Right, yeah. We sat in the room and it was just me, you, Justine, Rachel, McKenna, and Elizabeth. And we just like talked about boyfriends and how they all met their husbands and their proposal stories. It was so cute. It was so cute. Yeah. But no, we had so much fun. And then we had to leave the last service early, and I was so sad about it because I was really like
sad
in it. And then we got in trouble for going to the bathroom. We asked to go to the bathroom, and they said yes. And then we all went to the bathroom, and then we got a text while we were in the bathroom of, why did you all go to the bathroom at the same time? Seriously? And we were all like, we asked to go bathroom. We all had to go potty.
I didn't, and I just sat there and I was like, everyone's gone.
You didn't go with us. That's right.
They just all left me
because so Jocelyn and I really had to go to the bathroom. Like really bad. We knew we were about to go get on this bus, okay?
Yeah.
And so we had kind of been sitting there like the whole first song, and they were doing like the thing where they like recognized like everyone who joined vocational ministry. And they were kind of like wrapping up the week. It wasn't like a sermon or like worship or anything that we were missing. And so we thought it would be like a good time to go to the bathroom. And apparently the middle school, they're not in middle school, but they were incoming freshmen. Both of them had to also go to the bathroom. And then Brighton also decided she needed to go to the bathroom. And then Elise also decided she needed to go to the bathroom. So Elise asked her mom if she could go to the bathroom. And we all went to the bathroom because she said yes. And then she texted us from the bathroom and she was like, girls, come back! No. We were still sitting there. But we really all had to pee. Like, I'm being serious. We weren't in the bathroom chatting. We literally were all going to the bathroom. Yeah. Like, I don't even think half of us took our phones. But yeah, camp was fun and crazy and weird and cold. It was cold. It was so cold. Yeah. I don't know how they managed.
Needed worship crying sweatshirt hit hard.
We made a TikTok while we were there on our students' Instagram, and it was like, it's church camp, of course, whatever. And Jill's was, of course, I have a designated worship crying sweatshirt, and mine was like, of course, I didn't know how to put my sheet on my bed.
I had to put her sheets on her bed for her.
She did. Yeah. She did. I was also sobbing, so that might have played into it. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. I came up with some funnier ones, but Elizabeth told me I wasn't allowed to put them on the TikTok. I was like, it's church camp. Of course, I haven't eaten all week, which was very true statement. Yeah. Like, I'm not being dramatic.
One meal in the dining hall?
Yeah, and it was literally like just like the piece of chicken, and that was it.
Right.
And then, what was the other one that I came up with?
I couldn't come up with any. You came up with the
I
one for me.
did, and I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
And Elizabeth's was, it's church camp, of course, no one's allowed to poop in our dorm.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'm not allowed to talk about the fact that I didn't eat, but you're allowed to talk about where we poop?
like, multiple people talked about where they poop.
And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't understand how people talk
And the
about
real,
that.
like, it didn't go
gross.
viral, but, like, it has, like, 56,000 views, I think.
That's more views than we
Which
normally
is-
get.
a lot more views than we normally get.
Jill is one of the girls who runs our social media team for our student account at church.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah, that
really
one,
funny.
It's so fun.
really funny.
But
I came up with a really good one for it too, that we were not allowed to put on the social media one.
what was it? I can't remember.
The one about what's his name? Elijah's cousin. During that one prayer.
Yeah,
we're not allowed to put that on the internet.
No. Nowhere.
If you were there, you know.
Yeah.
And if you weren't,
I
be glad.
Yes.
Be glad. Okay, be glad.
You're lucky.
And there's a picture of it.
You still
McKenna
good.
took a picture of it.
on purpose.
No,
She
she
didn't
didn't know
know.
it was happening.
Got it.
There just is, because we were all stretching out our hands to
Yeah.
Andrew, and so she's like, "Oh, this is cute," and she
We
took a
were
picture of it.
praying over our youth pastor.
Yeah, because he is brand new. Like literally, this was what, his third week.
Yeah, his middle school camp was like his first.
Official.
I think that was his second week, but we didn't do anything the first week.
Yeah, because we don't have students over the summer.
Sad.
Sad face. I know. I'm just gonna. Y'all just better be prepared because I'm just gonna show up as students like next semester.
Okay.
At some point, I'm just gonna like walk
Just,
in and be
like-
like, "Hey, what's up?" But for those of you who don't know, I'm moving like 4 hours away, and
Very
so
sad.
very sad. And so I'm just gonna pull up one night and be like, "Hey, guess who's back? Back again."
Yay! Party.
But no, I mean most of it have my location, so I'll know anyway. But okay, I feel like we got really off
Yeah,
topic
we did
just now,
not.
but that is what this is for.
Yeah, we're
We're
talking
only
about
at 21 minutes. We're good. So, Jill, what would you say is your favorite part of your story?
My favorite part of the story. I really don't know. Like, there's not. It's all. They were like all such small things that like built up to who I am today. I can't think of like a favorite. Like, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I would say my favorite part of like our story, like in the past
Okay.
like year that we've been together, has just been like the random times that we just get together and just do stuff.
yeah.
Like I really like we've gone to there was like 2 Fridays in a row where we went to Black Rock over the summer.
Mhm.
And just like Bible studied and yapped and did all of the things. And I would, or like Sundays when randomly we would all go somewhere.
Mhm.
I feel like those are like the moments where like we weren't in a setting for Jesus, but we were for Jesus, and that's what made
Yes.
the difference. And I think that was just like a really cool thing to just like hang out outside of church with church people. But
Yeah.
and I had never really had that before, so I would say that's
Yeah.
my favorite
Yeah.
of our story. But I would just invite you guys to write down your story. Like, where have you seen God move in your past? Because it's so important. We talked about this one day at youth, that it's so important to look at where God has moved in your past to remind you that he's still moving in your present. And I think that that's just so important. So I would just encourage you guys to write your stories. If you want to send them to me and we can share them on the Instagram. So Jill, last question I have for you. I did not prepare you for this ahead of time because I
Uh-oh.
wanted to be real.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I shared last week. What is a piece of advice that you are rooted in right now? Whether it's a Bible verse, a worship song, something someone has told you, something someone has prayed over you. What is something that you're rooted in right now? Mine from last week was, I heard someone say, do not look for a man who wants a wife and kids, but look for a man who wants to be a husband and father. And I think
Really
that's
like that.
so important, because that was really like earth-shattering for me. Like, oh, there is a difference.
Yes,
There is a difference, and I have learned that the hard way. Maybe we'll tell that story one day. Probably not.
I feel like I don't have like a fun like saying. I'm coming up with a spot.
Yeah,
But just the like he has his arms around you, like feeling Jesus' arms like
Yeah,
around you, like
absolutely.
loving you and like loving yourself too. In that.
That's actually really
Yeah.
good one. I love that a lot. Okay, I am gonna pray and then we're gonna close. Dear God, I am just so grateful for my friendship with Jill and that she has been in my life and just been such a positive influence, and that you have worked not only through me but through her, and that we are able to come here today and share this story. God, I pray for all of our listeners that have heard this today, that they will take something away from it and apply it to their own lives, God, and that they will see where you have moved in their past and where they're going to move in where you're going to move in their future. Lord, I'm just so grateful for everything that you have done for us and for every moment we get to spend in your presence. In Jesus' name, amen. Let me not die. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening today. There is Romans 8:1 says there is now no condemnation, and we pray so much over you guys, and we thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Jill, for being our guest this week. Yes, so and we'll see you again soon. Bye, guys. See you next week.